Hello everyone, this is Pranav Yadav. I am the head of content back at Shivyaanchi. This is the first episode of our series where we interview industry experts from different domains to help young founders get an understanding of how they can figure out everything related to digital marketing. So today we have Harpreet with us. Harpreet is an expert email marketer and consultant. He's a top-rated badge holder on Upwork. He has been helping over 65 brands in figuring out everything concerned with their email marketing campaigns. He has been doing this for 10 plus years now with amazing results. So I welcome Harpreet. Thank you for agreeing to do this. So
Thank you.
is there anything else that I missed on your introduction? Is how do you go about it?
Well, you summarized it pretty well. So largely, I've been doing email marketing for good over 6 years, and happened to cross path your agency, and then on and off here and there. I've been happy to be of help, and happy to be today to be a part of your interview. So let's get started.
Awesome. Yeah. So Harpreet, we'll just start off. Suppose I am a young founder. I've just created an online brand, be it a SaaS service, or suppose I've decided to venture into e-commerce space. So what exactly is email marketing? There is so much that overwhelms me. I listen to top industry experts talk about nurture emails. Then there's cold marketing campaigns. Then there are follow-ups. Then there is automated responses. So how exactly do I go about it? What are the main things that I should focus on?
So email marketing primarily, e-commerce marketing primarily starts from start building traffic to your website, and as you get leads or even probably customers starting to buy or inquire about your product, you need to educate them about your product in case they end up buying a smaller ticket product or maybe a starting product. Then you need to keep them engaged with your emails, how they can be educated about your product and then buy a next level product. It could be like, for example, when they sign up for probably a register into your website, then they need to get a certain series of emails that are pretty standard in the industry. Sometimes first email usually goes like just like a simple welcome email where they feel welcomed into the brand, and they feel we need to start building confidence for them into the brand primarily. So usually we design welcome emails, introduction emails, and then if they're buying right away, we just if they're looking to complete the purchase right away, then we need to send them the product information, when the product will be shipped or how the product will be shipped. And in majority of the cases in e-commerce, sometimes they don't even finish the purchase. So the automated sequence need to take place where if they do not complete the purchase, you remind them by an abandoned cart email sequence, or in some cases, even there are certain CRM softwares and websites which, even if they are browsing casually on your website and they're able to collect the email, you could do browse abandonment emails in case So there are multiple levels, but I'll say first level is if they complete the purchase, they need to know when the product is going to get shipped, and those are more transaction-based emails where they're more interested in the product. But once the product is shipped out and received by a client, it's a good idea to give them a week or 10 days and then do a next level email to take their feedback, how they like the product, and in those feedback, another upsell of the products can be done where they could get introduced to more products about your industry or similar product, even higher priced or similar price products or a similar category products. To summarize your question about what kind of email sequences exist in e-commerce. Usually it's welcome email. If they don't make a purchase, it's about nurturing them. Usually nurturing emails can run few days to few weeks, depending on the product value and the product cost. Then there is an abandoned cart email sequence, which are between 3 to 4 emails. And then there's browse abandonment and post-purchase sequence. So once they complete the purchase, that would be another sequence that usually runs. And also browse abandonment is sometimes called fallout sequence. So in case they do not complete the purchase, then we try to remind them, maybe you would like to, maybe you forgot to complete the purchase, or you're probably, so those are next level emails that need to go in the sequence.
Understood. So if I am a D2C brand, or if I am operating in the e-commerce space, there's so much that I need to take care of. I hope this goes one step at a time, because this seems very overwhelming, especially for the first time founders. But since we have talked about D2C and e-commerce store, can we venture out into especially cold email campaigns, especially for B2B founders who are not looking to use the scope of email marketing for sales perspective, instead a marketing perspective, trying to get more people know about their services, and in the process closing deals. So how do you define cold email campaigns for B2B?
So so cold email primarily depends also on what the kind of service or product is being sold. Sometimes it's a product, sometimes it's a service, and sometimes it's just a industrial product or a business product. So a cold emailing is usually going out to people who are totally unaware of your brand. So our first job is initially to educate them about the brand. And in business email, it's a very sensitive, those are very sensitive emails, because when you're sending out to businesses, their time is very, very valuable. So they don't have a lot of time to read emails coming from unknown sources. So they like to consume that information in less than 5 to 7 lines, and short lines, very easy language, very easily digestible. And once we make them slowly, we kind of get into their inbox where they're able to read the email. Maybe they're not responding at that time, or maybe they do. We need to move them to something called also a nurturing sequence, where we are educating them about the product, how this product fits into their business industry, or their SaaS software. It could be SaaS companies. It could also be just a basic service. So how you could benefit from their how we could benefit by selling our service to that business, and that business can benefit from it. So they must see a value in your cold emailing. And usually that runs anything from 3 weeks to 3 months, and it can be more. It depends on their immediate needs, because a certain service a business might be already using from another company, but they're probably not ready to shift. And when the right time comes, and if they see an opportunity to move to another company to use our offers, then they probably will consider. So I'll say 3 weeks to 3 months. And after that, if they're not, probably send them fortnightly newsletters or monthly newsletters, depending upon the product and the value of the product also. So largely it's more about informing them, but we can't be very pushy about taking an action, other than just asking if we could get their appointment, we could get their meeting time, so we could just talk about the product. It's largely old school trade show visits to now happening online, and largely that's what's happening on the cold emailing front. And it's very subtle. It is not taking their personal time, it's just their business time, and we have to be very sensitive about it. So that's
So there's this one kind that you just defined, whereby we take a considerable amount of time, say months, to get the potential lead comfortable with the idea and message of our brand. And then there's these ultra specific, very bullish cold email campaigns that experts like Alex Berman talk about. Alex Berman talks about this
Mhm.
sequence of just 4 emails wherein you just complement the lead and then you use a very short case study. For example, we recently held X business grow the revenue by so and so percentage. Would you be interested in something similar? And then a very direct call to action. So how do you recommend that, or how to go about it if we are looking to close in results in a smaller amount of time?
So, so based on what Alex Berman is usually selling are either digital marketing services, probably, so usually running Facebook ads or some kind of PPC ads, or it could also be, probably email marketing campaigns or SEO services, for example. Now, I like his approach, but and 4 emails are good, but it really depends on businesses. Some businesses, for example, I am doing some I did some marketing recently for a SaaS software that provide digital documentation, e-sign documents. Now, people are usually, the most industry standard is DocuSign, but maybe people are not ready to shift right away. So we have to give them space and time to do. But if it's a digital marketing service, it can be consolidated to very few emails. But if it's a high value product, where it's not just few $1,000s, but the product, the cost of moving their business from one agency to the second is quite high. The 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 rate of shifting is very slow, and it's there, but we always, everybody gets an opportunity, another agency gets an opportunity, but it takes much more time to mature that lead. And I'm not saying, it also depends on what you're selling. If it's a low value product under $1,000 or few thousand, even up to $5,000, usually this 4 to 5 emails work. But the point is, after fourth or fifth email, you need to put them into a newsletter format. So we are we are reminding them consciously that we still exist, but maybe you're not ready now, and you'd probably, could be interested in the future, and we are right here when you need it.
Sense, yeah. So we have talked about sequences for e-commerce. We have talked about different types of cold email campaigns. You also mentioned newsletters. One of the major concerns that new guys in the field of email marketing have is avoiding the spam folder, right? I recollect sending out my first email for a thesis, and the professor responded after a year when I was done with my graduation, mentioning that he found out email lurking around in his spam folder. So, what are the policies that one should keep in mind that to follow so as to avoid the spam folder? Because I know all
So
these softwares are getting smart. Yeah.
correct. Correct. So usually you have to be very sensitive about not sounding too salesy and too commercial in your subject lines, and your first 5 lines. Those are very sensitive, and a lot of email softwares, Gmail servers, Hotmail servers read it. And if you are, so usually there are two processes primarily that I usually adapt. So set up there's something called SPF policy and a DCAM policy. So it's a string of commands that you enter into your domain that helps to learn the email servers, that we are not trying to spam people. We are probably a business and trying to send some information based emails into another business email. But if it's very you need, when it's a new domain, you need to be very careful. It should be at least 3 weeks old, and then you must warm up your domain and your initial email address. So subscribe to certain emails, start sending out few emails on a daily basis, just to exchange emails for servers to learn that we are a genuine a company just trying to send some doing some business on the email. That's all it is. And usually where I've seen, when these two these two things are in place, the SPF and a DKM, usually, and it's a fairly old domain, so at least few weeks old, and you've been using the email address for a while, it does learn, but also, like I said, first few lines and the subject lines are also play an important role in identifying emails not going into spam. And if we try to use words like free or promotion or so those gets very easily identified by the email servers, and then they end up in spam. So that's what it is.
All right, yeah, this makes sense. So we know all about different sequences. We now know how to avoid the spam folder. Let's get into the very basics of crafting a nice email. So, what would you also mentioned avoiding very spammy words in the subject line and in the starting lines of the email. What else should one keep in mind while he's crafting that email template? How do you distinguish from a good email from a bad one?
So I like to use very simple words for people to digest. If I'm sending an email to a business, like I mentioned before, keeping it very short and precise, no long sentences, break them into bullet points or numbered list. That way, somebody can quickly identify if the service you're offering is something they're looking at immediately or not. And those things actually amount to high open rates and high and easily digestible for someone to read. Even if it's not the first email, it could also be in the future emails. The email should never be long. Long talk can happen on online meetings or one-to-one meetings, but at this time, when we are sending an email to a business, they all or even an e-commerce business, somebody is receiving an email, they just want to know about their product. And if you're upselling them a product, they probably are interested, and those can always live on the footer of the email or down the email. But initially, if they're expecting an email from you, they want to see first what you have to offer, and they don't want to you don't have to waste their time, and they don't have to waste our time reading long emails. Long emails can only happen when there's some business to business happening. I'm not saying marketing company, but a business is sending to another business, and they need to do a conversation. Though that's the only place where long emails should exist, and they do exist, but nothing in marketing. No long emails. That's my number one rule.
All right. Yeah. So there are these other rules that people keep talking about. For example, having graphics in your emails, or going with a certain font, certain size, or highlighting some part of it using bold, using italics. So can you quickly take us through that?
Sure. So in the initial emails, let's say first, so let's segregate them by category. So if it's an e-commerce email, first two emails should not be very graphic heavy, or no graphic at all. Simple text-based email, or if it's simple banner of a branding, then it's fine. It should look like we must pass initially when we're sending to a new contact or even a new company, new brand. A simplest possible email will surpass spam folders or graphic heavy emails pretty quickly, and you could get around with that. In my business to business approach, I never use any graphics unless a product needs an explanation, but I don't use any branding. If the signature if graphic needs any signature of the sender or a company's signature, it can go right at the bottom, but linking to their LinkedIn profile or social media or wherever it's needed. But down the line, coming back to e-commerce, where as the emails move to the nurturing sequence, there might be graphics that might be needed. For example, a product upsells are needed, so we need to provide the graphics. And usually also a good choice of software is very important on what kind of email we are sending. Not all CRM softwares are meant for e-commerce, and not all of them are meant for cold emailing. In fact, certain majority CRM softwares are against cold emailing, but very few are meant for cold emailing as well. So you need to be selective and learn about which email softwares, what purpose they solve, and and uh, and of course, I haven't mentioned the important part of cleaning up your email list from time to time. Usually, I offer my clients every 3 months, every email they send out, after 3 months, create a new segment of email for all the people who opened or clicked any of the links in last six months. So create a segment that those are highly targeted emails who probably are interested in your product or could be interested in your product, and start unsubscribing or start deleting the contacts who are not even opening your emails. That saves them the cost, saves them the time, and saves them creates a space for new leads to come in and new leads to nurture and create more business.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Uh, so we now know, suppose I have an email sequence ready. Now I want to test the waters. So how do I approach this? Do I send these emails out manually, or do I send them through a software to a very small sample size? How do I go about testing?
So I don't recommend sending any emails manually. Reason being, uh, in this fast, to make the business scalable, you need to send out as many cold emails as possible to get a maximum response, in respecting the rules of the industry, of course. Uh, so, researching about the brand, what they do, what they have been recently doing, or what kind of blog posting exist on their website, helps you understand the brand and segregate that brand, and then in their first emails. But coming back to your question, I say, uh, keep your strategy as simple and straightforward as possible, and that will be a good strategy. But it really also depends on the value of the product, and also depends on the brand category,
Yeah. So we started from different sequences, then we moved on to how to avoid the spam folder, then we talked about crafting the perfect email, and now what else remains? So you have talked about a lot of things, and as a very young founder, this can get very overwhelming owing to the all sorts of different sequences that I need to prepare and the tracking of all of it. So, is there any minimal strategy, or even if I decide to hire someone who can handle all of this, how do I define what my requirables are? What are the things that I wish to start with, especially if I'm
so
operating in the beginning?
a good strategy for an agency like yours could be, start creating a checklist of in a required sequence. Sequence is a dangerous word to use here, because sequence is also used, but start creating a standard SOPs for your email marketing. So what a sequence of work, what works come after that. So if the email needs to be defining what kind of emails required to go for that particular client. If it's a B2B client, what kind of sequence of emails can be created? Maybe a checklist of all the work. And that way, it starts to get clearly defined. You start creating a kind of a system inside your agency. That way you can, anybody, if today a person X is joining the team and a Y comes in, they can quickly adapt to reading the checklist, what needs to be done, even if they're joining new. And if they have a very little idea, it's very fast. It will be faster for them to learn, and less of time. But I don't believe in sending manual emails, because it's not scalable, and it's not it's there's a limit to, I think, uh, 45 to 50 emails in about 3 hours time. That's a Gmail limit, and it means you are spending a job that that if it could be reorganized in advance, you could be sending 450 emails in the same time as you'd be sending 45 emails, or much less as well. I mean, I'll say 30 minutes, you should be done with the time is same for 45, 450 or 4,500 emails. The time is same. It's just the scalability plays a very important role. But sending manual email does not guarantee higher delivery rates. A Gmail can still reject your manual email sending into a spam as well. If it detects a spammy, or it's detecting if a lot of emails are going manually, and it might red flag it, and probably, I mean, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
those are areas to think about.
Yeah, makes sense. But one very distinguishing advantage of sending out manual emails is that you can customize the entire template according to the particular lead that you are sending it to.
Yeah.
So this is something that
Correct.
that beginners usually find difficult when they automate the process. So as to, are there any tips? Is it possible to implement some customization within an automated process? If yes, how do we go about it?
Pretty much, largely, as long as your industry contacts are segmented, you could customize based on certain behavior, but there will be some generic lines. For asking for a meeting would be a more generic line, or introducing your services would be more generic, but only about talking about their achievements. That is something, yes, only a manual email can cover, and automated email cannot cover. But if it's like I said, if it's a longer email anyway, you're coming back to you're actually kind of giving the other opener a chance to not even open your email. Of course, subject lines define if they open the email or not, but even opening, after opening the email, if they don't find your content relevant enough, or their service not needed at that moment, I mean, yeah, that's how it is. I don't get most of the work a lot with manual
Yeah.
email work, but I'm sure there is all kind of clients in the market, and everyone has a different needs.
Is there any hacks to it by which we can sort of implement some customization into the automated process? What I mean by that is, I'm aware that there are placeholders like first name and company name that we can put in our template and they can be replaced as per the lead. So similarly, can we have a placeholder for the opening email or for the opening sentences of the email for each person, different first lines, and then use a placeholder for that so that we can sort of add some customization
Yes.
to it?
Yes, of course. So up to 256 characters of lines. Usually, most of the standard software, you could create a custom merge tag. They call certain softwares called merge tag, or placeholders, as you call. So you could create a merge tag inside a CRM software, and give them a certain line. So it could be 2 lines, 1 line, up to 256 characters. I have Klaviyo offers longer, but MailChimp offers up to 256. So you could add, for example, you met them, you got their contact through a certain trade show, or you got their contact through browsing on LinkedIn, or a certain blog post. You would like to mention them, and it could be that the first person, a person A would be coming from a different source, and a person B coming from a different source. Those can be automated inside the CRM software, and those placeholders automatically populate the respective line. And but there's also in these softwares, they have, in case that information is missing, then the email becomes really odd, and that is something that needs to be very, very carefully
Yeah.
yeah
There are
taken
also
care of.
default messages that we can put on, right? For in case
Correct.
yeah. So I have some
Correct.
few more questions. So we'll just quickly scan through these. Take this as a rapid fire round. So uh, CRM software recommendations. What do you recommend for a brand that's operating in the e-commerce space? And another one for the B2B. Since you mentioned that there are different softwares meant for different purposes, what's your
Correct.
preferable?
So I'll pick 2-3 choices based on what product it is, of course. For example, if somebody runs a Shopify website, I highly recommend them using Klaviyo, because there are certain features inside Klaviyo that can only work with a Shopify website. It cannot work on other. But majority of my clients use Klaviyo, ActiveCampaign for e-commerce, and also MailChimp. These are top 3. Not that they are the top best 3, but they're the top most adapted CRM softwares. And it's not my most favorite, but it's how clients have been asking. For cold emailing, majority of the time I have used for clients is called Apollo.io. That's one software that I use a lot, because it automatically does very good spam filtering, and also predetermines before even sending the email that those emails, and it can even use its own lead generation inside the software. That's one. Another best cold emailing software I have experienced is Lemlist. And then the third one would be Mailshake, these are 3 very good industry standard cold emailing softwares that, in my experience, have a much more advantages. But like I said, they are not confined. It keeps shifting. Some certain softwares come up with a better features, or sometimes different needs. There are clients who use HubSpot, but HubSpot is a $4,000 or a $3,000 monthly recurring software, but it solves a different purpose beyond just emailing. It also does sales tracking. Yeah, so those are much more advanced softwares. Zoom Info is another one, which communicates very well with your websites. Based on it starts creating a list of contacts and CRM. It automatically populates based on people visiting your website and their behavior tracking on the website, and then populates that. And yeah, they do a very good job. But like I said, every software has its own higher purpose area.
Also, so next is how to determine the correct timing. I know this depends on a lot of experimentation, but since you have had a lot of experience, is there any highlighted day of the week and time of the day which is highly recommended to send out emails, considering that we are sending these to decision makers and people at the levels of CXOs and founders?
So of course, we are talking their local time zone.
Yeah.
But usually in B2B, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are 3 important days for emailing. Monday and Friday is a strict no from my experience. And open rates are very high between 9 to 2 p.m. But reply rates from my experience, when you send around 1 p.m., that's usually when somebody's pretty much done halfway with the day. So
Yeah.
they have much more time to reply by then. So if you want to be on the top of the inbox, usually morning times are good. 10 a.m. is good. And of course, if in the respective time zone. But there are also softwares that can even send to, if you're sending to different time zones, it can even segregate emails based on their location data. They can send on their local time zone, whatever time you like.
All right.
And so and also these softwares, Klaviyo, MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, and one more I use, Sendinblue sometimes. They suggest you best time. So based on their big database of they keep collecting data from different emails being sent. So they keep identifying they keep suggesting you what is the best time you should send this particular email, and yeah.
Got it. Got it. So I guess we have covered most of it. Yeah, and I hope this gives a better perspective into the entire world of email marketing to everyone who's watching. Uh, Harpreet, any parting thoughts, any resources recommendation, any YouTube channel or any book that you would recommend for someone who is just taking their first dive into the world?
I think my recommendation of a book is more towards understanding customer psychology. That plays psychology, I think, from reading and doing so many, watching so many courses or watching so many YouTube channels. I have learned understanding a mindset of your target customer plays a very, very important role. And there's a very interesting book I'm reading. I just finished, actually. It's called Almanac of Naval Ravikant. He plays he talks about how businesses actually operate on $10 million plus companies, how they operate, what kind of clients are they looking for, so the psychology behind this whole marketing business, or business to business, let's say, services. He explains it very, very well. This is something that I highly recommend. And YouTube channel, I think in cold emailing, the one I think you follow mostly is Alex Berman. He's pretty active on YouTube, pretty much posting every day. And he's starting to create a lot of content based for Indian entrepreneurs, or even now a lot of Indian freelancers also, which is a pretty surprising. But I think his cold email strategy is pretty good. But so largely this is what it is. But I highly recommend, on a personal level, you should consider that book. There's another one which I think, as you as a marketing agency can make use of, is and also personal level. There's a guy called Tiago Forte. I don't know. Have you heard of him? No. So he talks about organizing a digital information. It's nothing to do with digital marketing, but it's something to do with creating your marketing goals, or any kind of goals. For you, it's a marketing goal, or for me, it could be a marketing goal. So it's called Building Your Second Brain. If you Google BYSB, that's what it is. And it's a book, but he also does one-to-many training, which I've enrolled, and I'm still on a wait list. So, but is a very, very inspiring. So because we consume so much of information every day, so it's more about organizing that information and making it available. So for example, for even to talk today, there is so many softwares that I come across every day, or there are so many information I come across every day. I have every information I have organized by date, folder, what is the purpose of that folder, and where that purpose, that certain information will be reused in the future. So organizing that information, that's something I highly recommend. But there's also one YouTube channel that I'm really fond of. I'm trying to recall a name, but he is she's a daughter of a famous marketer. I'm trying. I just don't have it over my head, but Chet Holmes. So Chet Holmes is a very old school from. So his daughter name is Amanda Holmes. She runs a YouTube channels, and very highly focused marketing at a much higher level than Alex Berman. I highly recommend you to find her on YouTube. And of course, they do primarily training, but this Chet Holmes is like a Tony Robbins of marketing, or Dan Kennedy aged marketer. But he's no more, but his daughter runs this business, and very good interviews to watch and good things to learn from that channel about marketing, email marketing.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you for these recommendations. I have it all down. I guess that's it. We have covered everything. Yeah. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining in and
My
for
pleasure.
do this. Yeah. We'll see you in some other
Thank you.
episode for sure once we dive into the more specifics, more details of it. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Sounds good.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you.